unmute yourself in a moment.
Sounds good.
Okay. I have a timekeeper here. His name is Oliver, and you can see him pointing to his watch because he's telling me time to go. So anyway, I think most of you know the topic tonight. Before we get into that, another topic I will briefly touch upon is we had a meeting yesterday with the section managers, and what we're going to be doing on Wednesday nights is having a weekly thing on getting youth involved in radio, amateur radio. And we're going to be doing this a little differently than we've done in the past. We're going to be doing it from the section level, getting the sections involved and their membership involved. I'm pretty excited about that. And right now I'm going to turn it over to Oliver, because he's going to talk about what we're doing here and on the area side of things. And I'm pretty excited what he's got going. So take it away, Oliver.
Thank you very much. And I did turn off my video because apparently that helps with my bandwidth too. So bear with me as we go through this. My slides are still waiting, but tonight we'll just give you a quick introduction on how to get set up with Winlink. And then next week we're going to have the full-blown get your hands dirty with Winlink and exercise. What I would like to point out is we strongly believe in paying it forward. So this is a suggestion. Everything we talk about tonight, you know, take it or leave it, but our goal is to show you a couple of options that you can take to your respective sections and actually share that with your ECs, and hopefully they'll share it with their members. And with any luck, you know, we'll have a good time, and you know, you'll all feel more comfortable with Winlink. I understand, quite frankly, where many people are coming from. There are probably going to be three types of people tonight. There are going to be people who are really excited about getting into Winlink. There are going to be people who are saying, okay, convince me, I'm not 100% sold on it. And then there are going to be people who are quite frankly afraid. Nobody wants to look foolish. You know, many of you have been hams for a very long time. Some of this may be new to you. Understand that one of the things that we believe strongly in amateur radio is the ability to learn and to continuously improve. And Winlink will be valuable for some of you. It may not be the tool you want to employ for others. So we're certainly not dogmatic about this in any way, shape, or form. Let me share my main screen here. We'll go through a handful of slides real quick, and then we'll get into the live session. I do want to point out a couple of idiosyncrasies as we do this, and that just happens. Understand, it's a process. Winlink is extremely fast in its evolution. So the Winlink of today looks very different in many features than it did 3 months ago, than it did a year ago, than it did 2 years ago. I also want to remind everybody, if you don't use a Winlink account for 400 days, then you will have an issue, because you know the system essentially locks you out. And if you've given them a good email address, it's very easy to reset your password and reactivate. If not, you know, it might take a little longer. All right. Lee, can you see this? Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, let's just go through the Winlink basic setup. It is pretty straightforward. Before we begin this, I think you designed it to be a 3-session course. You will need 3 things to do it with this particular setup. If you do have a TNC at home, like you can try it, by all means, feel free to not download Sound Modem and Vara FM. But you know, we're going to focus on Sound Modem and sound card-based systems. Understand, like everything in amateur radio, there are many ways to skin a cat. You will need, first and foremost, Winlink Express, and you can have that. You can find that at https:/winlink.org/Winlink Express. and you scroll all the way down and it says download, and that's always the current production version. So that's the latest version you can download. And it downloads as a zip file. You just move it out, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. Live. I just want to go through the principles here. The other thing we recommend, if you're going to go the sound card route, and I'll show you what the options are with the hardware, but right now you'd also want to have the UC7HO sound modem. You can use it with Direwolf, and Direwolf is fantastic. We found that sound modem is easier for a lot of people to use. It has some fantastic features that make it really, really great for people in the field. We'll talk about those next week. And let me turn on my pointer here. As you're downloading, you want to have the sound modem. Right now, the current production version is 1.05. You want that. And you also want to download the PTT DLL. That's going to be important if you're going with a DRA board. So that's the file you also want to download, those two files. And finally, Vara FM. You go to rustmodem.wordpress.com. and you get Vara FM. Right now, the current version is 3.1.1. And yes, if you're running Windows Defender like I am, it will probably stop you from downloading it properly and saying that there's a virus in there. It's a false positive, and I'll show you a virus total scan. Right now, Windows Defender is the only one that's complaining about this, but you know, it is what it is. I don't have a simple solution for you. Next question a lot of people ask is, okay, so I've downloaded this, I've installed it. How do I find gateways? Within Winlink, there's a channel selector whenever you open a session. For those of you who've done this on HF, it works exactly the same on FM. And we recommend that you update that at least once a month. You don't have to do it every time you operate, but at least once a month so you have the latest channels. And it goes out to 100 miles, so 160 kilometers. You can use winlink.org. They have a fantastic website that you can check the local area and kind of zoom in exactly where the gateways are and find the frequency information. Great tool. And finally, you can always find it on APRS. Quite a lot of the time, I've done this on APRS. What does it look like? The Winlink session channel selector looks exactly like this. This is from my area, and you can see I'm practically on top of KA6ECT10, and the others are pretty close. The furthest one for me is the Culver City in this example at 27 miles. So just keep that in mind. Winlink.org, the RMS channels, you can see all these green dots here. Up here, I selected packet. So it shows me all the packet gateways in the United States. And obviously, if you zoom out worldwide, but you can see there are a lot of them in Hawaii. There are a lot of them on the East Coast and along the West Coast. If you wanted to check Vara FM, you can click on there, and then it will show you Vara FM. If you wanted to do Pactor or Vara, you can do the same thing. In this case, I only chose service code public. If you wanted to check both public and MCOM, you would put in a space and type MCOM, so it would say public and MCOM. And finally, on APRS.fi or APRS Direct, you can actually filter for Winlink gateways. I here pick the area around Seattle because there are a lot of these gateways, Winlink gateways around, and it makes it very easy to see. So if you do have that ability, we do encourage you to play around with it. Very often, if you go to APRS.fi and APRS Direct, they will be a really current version of what's up and running. So we encourage you to check that out. Quick word about sound card options. There are a lot of sound cards. Could you theoretically do it with your computer built-in sound card? Yes, if you get a decent ground pack, it wouldn't work. But Vara FM, you might work if you ground it properly. We generally don't recommend that. You've got a couple of options. SignalLink or XG Comms are probably the most popular option right now. The pros for the SignalLink are Vara FM and Packet are supported as sound modes, as is Vara HF, RDOP, and Winmore is being deprecated, but you know, it supports N-beams without any problem. Many of you probably have a SignalLink for FLDG and N-beams. Ham Radio Deluxe and so on is supported, and it has an extremely wide compatibility. In fact, I got my start on digital modes, believe it or not, with a Baofeng and a SignalLink. and just it taught me a lot of things, and I felt not quite sure what I was doing, so I felt it was easier to burn up a $30 radio than a $500 radio, and it served me really well. Is that an ideal situation? No, but if a Baofeng is all you have and you can set it up, hey, by all means. Plus, the cable that fits the Baofeng also fits any of the Kenwood handhelds, so that's a good point there. At present, there's no VARA FM wide support. Tigatronics is working on this, but it's kind of a chicken and egg discussion right now. They want to test it, but every time they download VARA FM, it tells them there's a virus in there, and they don't want to put that on their business computers. So it's one of those things, but they're working on getting better transformers. If they do get those in, then it might very well be VARA FM wide compatible. So we'll have to see. The other option are the DRA RIM50 boards. And, again, I'm not going to go too much into detail about this because Scott is probably going to talk about that in 3-4 weeks. I just want to point out they're really great. They support VARA FM wide and packet. Relatively easy to set up. They cost anywhere between $60 and $80. You do have to buy the cable extra, and the signal links, the cables usually included in the price. And they come as kits, so you can actually solder them together yourself. At present, they don't have any NBeam support and no Winlink HF support. Just keep that in mind. So they work really well for people who have gateways and for people who only do Winlink FM on a power level basis. So they're really great for that. Signal links are great for field operators and people who do a lot with interoperability, which in Aries LAX's case is often the case. And finally, of course, many of your rigs have this built in, have sound cards built in. And like the signal link, those sound cards will support VARA FM and packet. That's VARA FM narrow. I don't know of any of the major manufacturers that actually support VARA FM wide. You do have the 9600 setting, but it's only when you plug in a DRA board or a RIM50 board that you get to take advantage of that, and it's usually through the 6-pin mini DIN. They do support VARA HF, RDOP, NBeams, ham radio deluxe, etc. So it's as flexible. The ICOMs, we have had zero problems, and I'm just speaking from experience, and you know how this is. People usually get, oh, I've got that radio. The FT991A is a brilliant radio. It works really well with digital modes, but pretty much all the people in our group that have one switched back to signal links because they found it a lot easier than switching back and forth. So apparently it works really well if you're doing dedicated digital work, but if you're doing what we're doing, switching between voice and digital a lot, it's actually easier to run a signal link through the back port. Also, like the signaling, good for field operators, interoperability. I would be remiss of pointing out that if you do have a TNC, a Kentronics, a TNCX, and so on, they're pretty much plug and play if you have the proper port in the back, and you can hook that up. And they offer additional features like BBSs, but they only do packet. So you can't take advantage of VARA FM or HF. There won't be any Winmore or RDOP or anything like that. You only get those with sound card-based systems. And I hope that clarifies some of these questions. By and large, you find the TNCs now in our area mostly attached to APRS-based systems and indicators. All right, and I'll show you what this looks like live, but I just want to point out you don't have to enter a whole lot of information here. Your call sign, obviously, you can put in your call sign. By the way, you can do a call sign with an SSID that will be treated as a separate call sign if you wanted that. But put in your call sign. I usually put in a temporary password that I change later on the website. Password recovery email, extremely important. Please, please, please put in a password recovery email that you have access to currently and expect to have access to for the foreseeable future. If anything goes wrong, you can click request password, be sent via recovery email, and it's a one-stop shop, and it'll send your password to, it'll allow you to recover your password through that other email account. It's a very, very great way. We're not going to cover auxiliary call signs and technical addresses tonight. That's going to be for a future system. Might be very practical for everybody involved in MCOM. Your grid square, very important that you enter your grid square. There are a couple of ways of finding it, but I'm sure most of you are very aware of what your grid square is. It determines when later on we do the channel selection, and I already showed you what a channel selection is. It actually is calculated from your grid square. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Putting in your grid square here is very important. And the service codes, by default, that'll be public. If you're part of an MCOM group, you can add MCOM. You can have third-party, set up service codes that you can set up yourself. There's also private service code. Keep in mind, public means exactly that, public. The people who put these up expect that other people connect and use those. MCOM are generally considered private, so please use with caution. Most people who run MCOM gateways would not have a problem with you using it or trying out to send a brief email. But if you start using it on a regular basis, or if your group wants to use it on a regular basis, and especially for exercises, please reach out to the sysops. It's like a repeater. You don't want to jump on a repeater without having the permission of the owners to use it, especially if you're doing an organized event. Yeah, it's the exact same principle. Second part, the right-hand side, you fill in what you feel comfortable with. Your name, that's all you want to put in, that's perfectly fine. The non-Winlink email is completely irrelevant in this case. What matters is the one that you put before as a password recovery. You don't have to fill this out if you don't want to. It'll nag you about it, but no problem. I generally also recommend that people put in the display list of pending incoming messages prior to download. It's a very practical thing, especially if you're in a hybrid environment where you're doing HF, packet, and VARA FM. VARA FM allows you to send really large files very fast. If you need to pass that on packet or HF, it becomes an issue. A 50 kilobyte file on VARA takes about a minute and a half on narrow, less than a minute on wide. 50 kilobytes on packet with a great connection and no digipeater takes 10 minutes. You add a digipeater, it takes 20 minutes. You do that on HF, you're essentially killing the other gateway. So just understand that you want to think down the line, who's the ultimate recipient of this. And don't worry too much about this. It looks complicated, but we're going through it step by step after this together. And I encourage you to follow along as we do this. The important parts about the Winlink console is the new message button up here. You can also click on message, new message. But the new message button up here starts a new message. Your inbox, like any other email account you've ever used, your outbox is important. Check your outbox. This is very much for those of you who are remembering the Outlook, the old Outlook 98 style. This is what this is built in. So when you click post to Outbox, you're literally posting it to the Outbox. You're not sending it yet, right? The other two fields I want to point out, up here is your session window. And here you pick your session. We'll show you what that looks like in a moment. And this is actually a button where it says open session. So you click on that to actually open the session. And that takes some people a little getting used to because they think it's just a label. It's actually a button, so you can actually click on that. All right, that was the sum total of this. Let me just go on before we do the exercise. Once you have your message window, it's exactly like every other message. I just want to point out a couple of things. The to field, W2 JCL, you can put in multiple addresses here. If you're sending to somebody else who's on Winlink, just the call sign is enough. So if you were sending to me, it would be K6OLI. You can also add any type of internet address in the to field or the CC field, doesn't matter. But so K6OLI at AOL.net. If there's any attachment to the internet, that'll work just fine. And here you've got your message window. And then we'll talk about templates next week. The other thing I'd like to point out is the send as window. A lot of people overlook this. The important part here is you've got Winlink message, radio only, and peer-to-peer. For what we're doing together tonight, Winlink message and peer-to-peer are really relevant. What I like to show you is what the differences are. Winlink message means you're sending the message through a gateway. Peer-to-peer means you sending it directly to somebody else who's got a Winlink program up and running, and they're in the same session. So what you cannot do, you cannot send from VARA FM, you're in a VARA FM session, the other person is in a packet session, you cannot connect those two. You both have to be in a VARA FM session, or you both have to be in a packet session, or you both have to be in a Pactor session, for example, or VARA HF. Telnet, same thing. If you're on the mesh, you both have to be in a Telnet peer-to-peer session in order to send this. With a gateway, that's not the case. With a gateway, you can send it because the gateways usually support VARA FM and packet very often, but you could send in VARA FM and the other person could pick it up could pick it up on packet. Or if it's a gateway that also does HF, you can send it via, let's say, packet, and the other person can pick it up on VARA HF. So keep that in mind, that matters. Why is peer-to-peer really useful? The beauty of it is you don't have to have a gateway in your area to work with this. All you need is a friend, or if you can't find a friend, then you could set up a separate call sign for yourself and email yourself back and forth. But we recommend that you train a couple of people and do this for fun. Let me go back one. The other key part here is post to outbox. That puts it in the outbox and then select the session. So it's really a straightforward system. Once it's in the outbox, we verify it's there and we pick our session up here, we click open session, and we're ready to go. So let me go through this. This was the introduction. Let me go through this relatively slowly all together so we can get prepared for next week. At this point, are there any questions?
I might point out, Oliver, that you were really broken up. We got majority of what you were saying, but there were times we missed a word or two. So I just want to let you know.
Okay.
If we could get everybody to shut off their video except Oliver, that would help a lot.
I don't know it's going to help his bandwidth.
Yeah, maybe not, but it can't hurt.
Yeah, it wouldn't help his bandwidth. The problem is on Oliver's side.
Okay, let me double check here what I can do to make this work. Let me close down some things here.
Comment?
Go ahead, Matt.
This is, Matt KI7NO. I actually do Zoom setups for commercial meetings, and it has been confirmed by Zoom tech support that the more video that is on lowers the bandwidth of the entire meeting group, regardless of who's talking or not. It actually does consume more bandwidth for everybody.
Okay, good news. Okay, I've got my screen. I've got my screen, my monitor shut down.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that comment. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so in that case, let me go through and just walk you through step by step what we just talked about. And I'll share my screen again. Let's see. Okay, you can see this, right?
Yes.
All right. So you can go to user programs and also slow down. I think that might help. and then go to Winlink Express. And that's an easy way of always finding the current version.
It's obviously Oliver's bandwidth.
What is on?
I can double check, but you know, I'm running at 10 megabits full blast. So let me make sure that my other systems are turned off. Hold on.
Wow, somebody's still using 10 megabits. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody again so we don't have people just jumping in. So Oliver's going to have to unmute himself, or I can in a moment.
Dan, do you know if the slide presentation is going to be available for download?
I'm sure it will be, but we'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Also, Dan, does the instruction for downloading Winlink is going to be available?
It was sent out. I'm going to send it out again, but it was sent out with the invitation, and I'll send it out again.
Thank you.
Oliver, I got you muted, so you're going to have to unmute yourself.
I think I'm back up and running, right?
Okay.
Yes, you are. Go.
Okay. So let me make this as painless as possible here. So right here is the Winlink Express current production version. You click on that and it downloads to a zip file. And I also want to show you this real quick, and then I'll close the browser. That should help too. Right now, I also downloaded Vara FM. The only antivirus that really complains about it is Microsoft. Everything else says it's pretty much okay. So just keep that in mind when you download it. Microsoft may give you an issue. And that is something that apparently the more detections you get, the more reports you get that it's a clean file, the easier it is to get it out of that system. All right, so you downloaded this. And I'll close this to make sure that we can actually see this. It should be a lot faster now. Okay. I cannot share my entire desktop. Is that new?
No, but just in case, now try it.
No. Let's just do it one by one.
Interesting.
All right. So it downloads into Winlink Express right here. And let's just go through it step by step. And you right mouse click on the zip file here. Oh, come on. And then you click on extract all. And I would recommend you just accept the default and it'll extract it to that file. I already extracted it, so let's just replace. And there you have it. And you double click on Winlink Express install and it'll install it for you. It's a pretty straightforward process after that. And now I need to, that's odd. I have to share window by window. Okay. No worries.
Yeah, I don't know. You're a co-host, so that shouldn't be a problem, but.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so let's go through the settings again together, just one by one. Winlink Express setup, by the way, you can always set more call signs up. In this case, Tron K6NHI is set up here. And let's say if you start it up, you've never done it before, you enter your call sign here, make up a password. I usually do that. And then the password recovery email, pretty much everything we walked through, the grid square, public, MCOM, maybe your name, and then display a list of incoming messages to download and click update. I'm going to cancel here. And that's pretty much it in terms of the setup. So you've set this up. The next thing you want to do in order to activate your account is to send a message. Any message will do, just a message so Winlink knows you're up and running. So you click on new message. And my guess is you can't see the new message right now, right?
No. Yes. Now we can.
Okay. All right. New message. And again, if you don't have any friends outside that already are using Winlinks, you're more than welcome to be a friend of mine and type in, and again, I can't send a message to myself, but in your case, you would type in K6OLI. Let's say, first Winlink message, if you want to, and then hello.
Yeah, you can type in my call sign if you want.
Yeah, you know, Trons, it doesn't matter. It's just
Whatever.
yeah. And in this case, we want to send it through a gateway because Telnet or the internet is considered, you know, a gateway in the way of Winlink thinking. So keep the Winlink message. I just want to show you here, you've got the radio only, and we can talk about what that means. But by and large, the two you're going to use the most are Winlink message and peer-to-peer message. In this case, we choose Winlink message because we're sending through the internet, and we click post to outbox. All right. Now, as we talked about before, here's your session. Here are your sessions. So you click on this drop-down window right here, and you pick a session you want to use. For today, we're using Telnet, but if it's your first message and you already know what you're doing, you can do a variety of these, and I'll show you a VARA FM session in a moment. But you could do Telnet Winlink, and our message is here in the outbox on the left. Outbox, here's K6NHI. We selected Telnet Winlink, so we're going to go through the internet, and we click on Open Session. You can see the session window right now, correct?
No. Yes. Well, no, we can't.
No.
Okay. Let me stop the share and bring it back. I'm not sure why it doesn't show the. There you go. All right. Now you can see it, right? So this is our Telnet Winlink session. Don't have to change anything in the settings here. It's all default. Don't worry about anything. Just click Start. And it says connecting to CMS, so it's connecting to the internet. It sends one message, and remember how we just turned on the, oh wow. I think two of you are already sending AJ4NO and N7UWX. I checked them both, and I download the checked messages. And I received 2 messages. And that was it. You're active. Now your Winlink account is activated, and you don't really have to worry about anything anymore. So the system may send you a password, and you can change that. You can always go to winlink.org and log in, and that's how I would manage my passwords. But that's as easy as it is. At this point, you're ready to rock and roll. So let's just keep that in mind. This is a whole lot of fun in that respect. You're set up. So let's close this and need to reshare. What happens if we use a different mode? I'll just show you that as a preview, and we're making some changes for next week to make this easier. is over here. Screen sharing is paused. Why is it paused? Okay, gotcha. Oh, I see. Can you see the Vara FM window right now?
No.
Or no? Okay, no worries. Anyways, but Vara is working right now in the background for me, but let's do a Vara FM session. Vara FM Winlink, so we're again going here. We're choosing Vara FM. We're going through gateway. We're going open session. But you can see the session now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. I want to show you the channel selection. It's a really useful tool. Here are all the different channels that are determined by my service codes. And we can update this table via the internet. Again, we recommend doing this at least once a month. So you have the latest information because some gateways are added, others are removed. So keep that in mind. In this case, let's go to K6YZF-11 because I'm already on frequency and it tells you it's on frequency 130, it's 1200 baud, which means narrow in Vara FM terms, and it's got the label MCOM. My own gateway is 9600, but it's portable. So we can select this channel, we highlighted it, we select the channel, and see how it fills in the information here, K6YZF11. You can also type that information in, K6YZF-11, not a problem. What you enter in the frequency here makes no difference. It matters for HF rigs that have CAT control. So, but for signalings, DR8 boards, or anything on FM, in generally doesn't matter what you enter here. You can also set favorites if you have a couple of gateways that you connect to on a regular basis. And then our Vara FM is already running. We're connected. You can see that here, successfully connected to the TNC. We check for clear frequency and we click start. And you can see how it's connecting. And just like Telnet, it makes that connection right now with the CMS. And we're getting a number of more call signs in here. Quite a few of you apparently have activated their accounts. And we're downloading them. And you can see this right now. It's pretty decent connection, so it'll be done in a couple of moments. And for those of you who've ever done this on Packet, you know how what speeds to expect here. And sometimes it pops up that window. Just keep clicking download messages until it's done. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, so we got grand total of 7 messages in 1.2 minutes. That's not too bad. And we can close our Winlink session. We can go to the inbox and we can take a look at all these messages that we got. From 87QJ, Tom, sent a message. And at this point, if we wanted to reply, to Tom's day, we can say, thank you, Tom, and be polite. By the way, if you ever needed to check something, you can do the spell checker up here, especially when you're dealing with people outside of amateur radio. It might be useful. Then again, we pose to Outbox. And we've got one message waiting in the Outbox here. We go open session again. By the way, you can let the session run in the background. Let's check for clear frequency. Click start. And now we're sending the message. You can see how it's being removed from the outbox here. And we got 2 more messages. I'm super happy to see that. Also shows you live that this is actually working, right? And then when Tom checks on his telnet, he should get my reply instantly. So our session has stopped. Tom, if you wouldn't mind checking and let us know whether you received my reply. But that's it. That's as hard as it is to be set up. So, and you know, I mean, you saw how quick we downloaded all this information. It's a very powerful way of doing this. At this point, do you want me to show you real quick what a sound modem packet version looks like, or shall we leave that for next week? Are there any questions at this point? How about that? I'll stop the share and we'll take questions and I can show something else.
I do have a question, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Ray, KB1LRL. A couple of times I've tried to do HF on the Winlink, and for some reason it's not connecting to any of the gateways. Is that because I did not do a telnet message initially? I did do it successfully on another laptop. I don't know if that has any influence, and I should have done it on the other one. I'm running a 590SG with a homebrew interface.
Well, it could be a couple of things. One thing is, you know, that
Your audio is bad.
and I'm pointing this out because I don't know what your setup is. So please don't kill me if I say something. But one thing that we found that, especially on HF, 40 meters and 80 meters, sometimes people use lower sideband. Also, it's essentially upper sideband. So please keep that in mind. Then it could be an audio, it could be conditions. If you have 80-meter gateways in your areas, you probably have a good chance of hitting those, no matter what you do. So it could be a variety of issues. It could be your audio levels that need to be adjusted, because usually when you use a sound card mode, you've got 3 different places where you can adjust the audio. And if you have a signal link, it can be adjusted on the signal link. It can be adjusted in Windows, and it can be adjusted on your radio. And those 3 adjustments need to be kind of aligned for this to work. So this is up to experimentation, and that's the best advice I can give you. Let me tell you, I've worked with people all over the country on this, and with a little experimentation, you can usually make it happen.
Okay, so it's just a matter of just playing around with it some more.
Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure if you're comfortable in your HF rig and you have regular SSB connections or even digital connections, then you're 95% of the way there. It's really mostly about audio levels and making sure that you're set up.
Okay, I'll play around with it some more. Thanks.
Yeah, and please feel free to reach out. Especially if you have VARA HF, you will have some really good results. One of our operators decided to set up during his lunch break from a car in front of his technology companies, you know, where he works. And he actually made a connection to South Carolina from California on 20 watts. And I have to say, kudos. My hat's off to him. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is N2JLF. I got a quick question for you. That first message you just sent, that was sent strictly through the internet. You were just testing it. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
If you're brand new to Winlink, we recommend that you send your first message through Telnet. And yes, that was straight through the internet. And as an MCOM group, if internet were available or mesh were available, we would first use that before we use any other method, before we use VARA FM, packet, or HF. The beauty of amateur radio is that you can be path neutral. Whatever you can make work, works. So yes, the first message was, but if you sent it through an RMS gateway in your area, it would also activate your account. if that's your question.
Yes, you answered my question. It was straight through the internet because I had a window popped up that said something about setting up the thing, and I just wanted to make sure that I could still do it through the internet for my first one before I have to do it through HF, VHF, or whatever, any other source. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, do it first through internet. By the way, winlink.org, once you have your password set up properly, you can log in there and manage your account there too. Makes it super easy.
Okay, let's start using the raise hand thing so we don't double with folks trying to ask questions. Are there any more questions?
There was a question we're sending without internet. I could use this from a boat or no? Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point. The beauty of Winlink is if you don't have any internet whatsoever, you can still send from one operator to another. You can send to a post office, and you know the post office, even if it's not connected to the internet, could serve as a local storage for your messages. And that's how all our post offices in Aries LAX are set up. So if the internet fails, they are they're holding on to this so we can actually reach them. And all we do is with voice, we're telling them, hey, listen, go to K6YZF 11, all your messages are there. And that makes it much, much easier. So good question. Could you use it from a boat? Yes, that's how it started. Especially on HF, I think that would be really great because you're on a boat. Chances are you have a lot of water around you. Makes for a good ground plane. Especially on salt water, right? All right. Can you send to an email address? Absolutely. You can send to an email address. Any email address on the internet is available. It's a big difference to FLDG. And FLDG is ham to ham only, and it has a lot of cool features. We're big fans of FLDG, but if you want to send to anybody outside of the ham community, this is one of those questions. This is one of those advantages of Winlink.
Okay.
Good.
Well, I was just looking at these hands being held up. Did you want to take some more off the chat there?
No, go ahead, and you tell which hands you want to take.
Whatever. I want to point out there's a couple of people that have put text in here asking the question. If you go down the bottom of your chat, clear to the bottom, you can see where you can raise your hand. Okay. WA6RUZ. Charlie, go ahead.
Okay, this is Charlie, WA6RUZ. I've been using Winlink for a while, and we have it in our EOC, but when I load it on my home laptop, I send a message, and when that screen closes, the whole program screen reduces down to such a size that I can't even read it. Is there any way to control the size of the screen?
Absolutely. That's actually quite common. You can find that in the Winlink group on Google Groups. That's a great way of doing it. Let me walk you through this here real quick. I'll just share my screen because this is going to be something that is going to be common to everybody is going to experience this. Hold on, let me just. There, share. And I hope you can see this now. So we go to Winlink Express, and it can be just the icon, right? You don't have to go to the actual proper file. And right mouse click on Winlink Express, go to Properties. And let me tell you, it drove all of us nuts in the beginning too. Go to Compatibility up here, and then change High DPI settings right here. And then overwrite high DPI scaling behavior, and the scaling performed by system or system enhanced, doesn't matter. You usually can use one or the other. Click OK, and you're done, and it won't resize anymore every time you post a message. Great question. Next.
Okay, Doug.
Yeah, it's Doug, W4DBL. Would you, and you may have this in one of the advanced sessions, and if so, just delay it, but using a KPC 3 versus or 3 plus versus using UZ7 or UZ7HO. Again, the reasons for one or the other, and I'm running an FTM 400, and currently it's got a 3 plus behind it.
Oh, what was your question there? Would I go one way or the other?
Well, I guess my question is, you mentioned you would go software rather than hardware on a TNC, and I was just curious, Vera FM, and you said it wouldn't run on a KPC 3, so why would you use a KPC 3 plus at all?
I have a KPC 3 plus, and quite frankly, I'm not using it. The only reason I would use it is for a specific race that we have, which is built around the KPC. But quite frankly, I think once you start using the UC7HO for Winlink, and I'm focusing on Winlink. If you have a BBS, if you want to have that post-service kind of thing going on, that Cantronics has a lot of great features that you don't find anywhere else. But for Winlink, I would use the UC7HO. It's much easier. It's about 30% faster than your Cantronics. You can see what's going on as you're connecting. And it's a really, really powerful way of doing this. So I'm happy. Next week, we'll show you how a packet session looks like on this, because I think it's extremely valuable to see the difference. We have a lot of people who started with Cantronics, and they realized they also had signal links. They all moved over because it makes your life a lot easier, even including some diehard TNC hardware people. So you get higher performance and more flexibility. Good question.
Thanks. I've got it on the computer already. I just hadn't played with it. Talk to you later.
Okay. Yeah. Next week, we'll do some live exercises.
Okay, let's go to next one. I think we just got Doug, did we not?
You did. I'm good, thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Tim, go ahead.
Okay, it's Tim, KC1TWR in Connecticut. Two things. First of all, I think the raise hand is not at the bottom of the chat. It's at the bottom of the participants list. At least that's
You're right. You're right. Thank you.
Okay. Secondly, something I have used Winlink a little bit before, and one thing that I found the hard way is the fact that if I have the Winlink on my laptop downstairs and I have Winlink on my computer upstairs, if I send or receive messages, it's only on that computer. It's not, cached in some server somewhere, so that wherever I log in, I see all the messages. I just wanted to bring that out.
That's a very good point, and that's why most of us have used to these relatively small computers that are highly portable, and we just keep a copy on there. One way around that would be to put your Winlink on a USB stick and plug that in, and that works perfectly fine. But it's a good point. Thank you.
Greg, you want to take it away, KD6 UCE?
Yeah, this is Greg, KD6 UCE in Iowa, and I'm getting an error that says another copy of Winlink Express is running from this folder. Only one copy may be run at a time from the same folder. But when I open my task manager, I don't see any Winlink Express run.
What happens there is if you double click like twice, it actually, the computer might be slow, and that has happened to me before, that you double click and you're trying to start another instance of it, and just let it come up naturally, and only one of them will be running. Do you have any Winlink Express running right now?
No, it's not listed in the task manager at all.
Okay.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just reboot your computer and it'll probably go away. The other issue that occurs sometimes is that one of the I forget what it's called, but one of the IDs will get locked up and it just doesn't go away quick enough. So when that occurs, just restart your computer. But when you want to start Express, be careful just to do the one click and be patient.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we want to move on to Don?
Yeah.
Don,
go right ahead.
Yeah, a question for you. Let's say I send an email to somebody who's doesn't have Winlink turned on, and 2 days later they turn it on. Will those emails show up in their inbox then?
Absolutely. Once they connect, I mean, the emails stay on the system for 21 days. So
Okay.
if they're within that window, it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, because I had so many problems. I've tried this once before, and I never got any replies from anybody. So I just kind of gave up on it. I'm going to try it again, see what happens.
Feel free, and I'll for everybody who sent me an email earlier, I'll write you a reply so you know it's gotten through. I'll do that after our net, which is coming up in the next couple of minutes, our digital peer-to-peer net. And we have a weekly net like that where we actually are trying it out live, and we do a lot of our troubleshooting and learning on these nets. So keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay,
All right.
George, you want to take it away? KE0RG.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. This is George, KE0RG. I had a question. I wanted to know if anyone's used Winlink on a Linux-based operating system.
Yes, people have tried with Wine, and there you can actually find instructions on how to do this. People run it on Mac OSs as well, but most of the time using Parallels. It's not designed to do that. Winlink, as the name implies, is a Windows-based system, and for Linux, there's something called PAT. But if you use PAT, it works really well. I like PAT a lot, but if you use PAT, you're losing a lot of the special features that Winlink provides. So just keep that in mind. It will always be a compromise. It'll never work, and you have to put in a lot of work to make it work. Can it be done? Yes. Just keep in mind, you're adding a lot more work for yourself.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Good.
Hey, Dan, in California.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Pat works on Mac OS fine, but as Ollie mentioned, it's not fully featured. And I agree with him. My best Microsoft Windows computers are Mac laptops that are running Parallels and Win 10.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And that's I know quite a few people who have done this very successfully. I'm super happy with Parallels and running Windows that way and Winlink that way.
Okay, Lee, are you on? Do you see any questions we missed in chat?
No, not at this time. I think everything's been asked and answered.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen real quick. I did it a couple of times, and you should be seeing, hopefully. This is just a draft. It's subject to change, but this is what we're looking at. Everybody see my desktop?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And you can see in the 23rd, this is what we're doing now with Oliver. We're coming back on the 30th. We'll have some more to get it. I think those that got the invitation got a copy of this. When I send the video out, I will include this well as also some other information. And Oliver, if you can send me your slide thing tonight, I'll get that out to folks so that where they missed it in your presentation, they can go to your slideshow.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Again, we want you to pay this forward, share it with your groups and have a fun time with it. Again, nothing's perfect. We had one question from EDT, whose mic is malfunctioning. Can I explain the reasons one would use a built-in TNC versus a signaling? Convenience. I have right now I'm looking at a Kenwood D710. I absolutely love the built-in TNC, and I usually have a DRA board connected to the 6-pin mini-DIN in the back. So that, again, TNC kind of limits you to not being able to do VARA and some of the other stuff, and but it does have its advantages. If you've already got it built in, hey, don't buy anything new. Start with Packet there. And by the way, the THD74 do WinLink really, really well. So I'm a happy camper with that.
Okay.
Right.
So how are we doing? I just dropped my screen, I hope.
Yeah, you pulled the chat away, but we did have a question from an EDT about using a built-in TNC, but I've lost the question, not sitting in front of me anymore.
Yeah, I think I just answered that, right?
I think you did.
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, that's pretty good. We can get the answers before the questions. I like that.
All right. Again, sorry that, we had some hiccups tonight. It goes to show you nothing's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And for next week, I'll have a 2 computer setup that'll make it somewhat easier for the live demo. And we do want to encourage everybody to play around with this, and especially get started on the peer-to-peer, because everybody can do that with a friend, and it's super easy. That's how we get everybody started in our group. And then we grow it out to gateway operations, and then we graduate people to HF. All right?
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds real good. Also, you can put your experience and questions and such out on the SEC-Aries reflector if you like. That will maybe help get other people involved too. Okay. We're running out of questions. Hang on here. I'm about to cough. There, I think I got it out of my system. At any rate, and we learned a little bit more about the Zoom tonight. Every session is something different. Anyway, with that in mind, we've been here just about even an hour. This is not bad, not bad. If there's no more questions, and we've anything else to cover here, I'm going to close the session down and wish everybody the best of 73s. And